Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thanks for stopping by. The evolution of hope. This is Bob Collimore's presentation. Mindspeak's up there, and we've also now uploaded the Q&A session, which was equally interesting as well. Do take a look. Well, OPEC came up with a deal. Boom, says Javier Blas. Confounded skeptics with its first oil production cuts in 8 years. WTI crude jumped 10%. Have a look at this. Oil's so hot today, top 100 most active futures contracts since midnight. That's Hanseda. And this is what I was writing about over the weekend when I said traders can sell $60 strike call options with a 1-year maturity into a price rally. We're currently in New York at $50.45. We could go as high as $51.50, but essentially from a timing perspective, this is the moment to put on the trade that I was suggesting. They actually did something. OPEC agrees to cut oil output to end record glut. Crude soars, though only to $50 a barrel. That was overnight, and we're now a bit higher, just under 50.50. I do not see WTI trading above $60 under any circumstances through 2017, and therefore I think at this particular level you can sell $60 strike call options with a 1-year maturity into this price rally and pocket the premium. Joe Weisenthal, 1-day moves of 9% in oil are incredibly rare. Here's every day going back to 2007. Oil price volatility, Aurelia says we need less of it. So the proof will be in the pudding because it's deferred. The actual cuts happen in January. But I, for one, think Shell will just be like a tap, it'll switch on. And I don't see this rally holding very much longer, maybe another 24 hours. Home Thoughts, Fabrice Benichou, life is a dangerous sport, apparently. And then I like this one as well, Hello Summer from Down Under, what's not to love about summer and the beach? Political reflections, Russia weaponized social media in the US election, FireEye says. Russia's government just didn't hack and leak documents from US political groups during the presidential campaign. It used social media as a weapon to influence perceptions about the election, according to cybersecurity company FireEye. Materials stolen by Russia's intelligence services were feverishly promoted by online personas and numerous fake accounts through links to leaked material and misleading narratives. According to an analysis of thousands of postings, links and documents by FireEye, which tracks Russian and Chinese hackers breaking into US systems, the operation was a new and belligerent escalation by Moscow in the cyber domain. Company chairman David DeWalt said, "The dawning of Russia as a cyber power is at a whole other level than it was ever before. We've seen what I believe is the most historical event, maybe in American democracy history, in terms of the Russian campaign." The closeness of the November the 8th election sparked scrutiny of the spread of fake news and has fueled demands from Green Party candidate Jill Stein, backed by some Democrats and independents, for a recount in key states lost by Hillary Clinton. FireEye has mapped up what it says was a Russian-backed campaign using at least 6 key false hacktivist personas to advance the country's interests, including Guccifer 2.0, DC Leaks, Anonymous Poland, Fancy Bears hack team. The company's autopsy also includes thousands of postings on Twitter, as well as fake social media accounts used to pass the information back and forth to generate an online buzz. That's a change in the rules of engagement, Mandlia said. All of a sudden, they're more of a tank through the cornfield when they hack, not a whisper or a ghost. I concluded by saying Russia ran some seriously 21st century digital interference. They drained Hillary Clinton's support. They amplified the conspiracy frenzy and solidified Trump's numbers. I like this photograph of the Black Panther Community Center in Harlem, 1968. Oh, and there's a 1-month chart of Goldman Sachs. This is Joe Weisenthal. And yesterday I tweeted to something else, that's what I've been thinking, the bankers are back. Indeed, if you look at this Trump administration, you could say Goldman Sachs is back, and that's why the chart is like it is. Global bonds suffered their worst ever meltdown after a 30-year bull run. Have a look at the graph, go back to that article I wrote on the 12th of September, mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne on ice. And she said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man. We are programmed to receive. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. What is clear is that we're at the fag end of this party. And that on the 12th of September, I was saying, therefore, my second trade of the year is to buy put options on 10-year bonds, because this is going to pop. And when it pops, the wizardry won't work anymore. And at that moment, there's going to be one heck of a move. We've just seen it. Currency markets, euro dollar 106.17, dollar index 101.45, Japanese yen 101.14, the figure. Swiss franc 101.59, the pound 125.28, Aussie 0.7412, India rupee 68.375, South Korean won 1171.26, the real 340.88, Egyptian pound below 18 again at 1785.75, and the rand softening up 14.0379. Disappointment that Zuma did not go. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart. My target is now 110. Aurelia has been looking for a base to form in the euro dollar. Let me put up a chart of hers. Gold, last trading at 1174.62. I don't see this going any higher, with risks of it going eventually below 1,000 again. Emerging markets, Brazil is weighing another rate cut, bucking the trend among emerging economies. Indeed, most emerging economies are battling sharply weaker currencies. Moving to Africa, Gabon, Ali Bongo convoque un sommet de la CEEAC in Libreville. I like the photograph. Reports from Harare suggest black market money traders are demanding $1.25 in bond notes for every dollar. While even established businesses like petrol stations were charging more to customers who wanted to use the notes, these bond notes signal the end of Mugabe and the ZANU PF, because some retailers are already saying we must pay more for something if we pay in bond notes, so the black market has begun. This is Evans Rutate, credit controller to South African clothes chain in Harare. I think this could unravel really quickly. Imagine Peter Ndoro asks on Twitter if everyone in the world could magically call any piece of paper the equivalent of $1, the stuff of dreams. I go back to the 25th of July this year when I said countries like Zimbabwe feel like they are right at the edge, an edge that Hunter S. Thompson described thus: the edge, there is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are ones who have gone over. Jammeh won 72% of the votes in 2011. This election will also help to separate patriotic citizens from Western stooges, he said last week. Essentially, the election will be a sham. Sean Smith, Africa analyst at Bath, UK-based risk consultancy Verisk Maplecroft. It is impossible for there to be a level playing field when state officials frequently arrest and torture opposition leaders and critically minded journalists. Remittances account for more than 20% of Gambia's GDP, reaching $181 million in 2015. The country also exports groundnuts and fish to the EU. The South African all shares minus 0.96% this year, dollar versus rand back over 14. Interesting piece in Bloomberg, Barclays Africa's sale means late nights for banks breaking up. The bank's negotiating a transitional services agreement to deconsolidate Barclays Africa, according to Staley. They are also figuring out how to change reporting lines within teams, maintain global distribution for investment banking clients, which customers should get transferred to different units, how many staff are needed and where, how to change Barclays' linked email addresses, how to deal with software licenses, and who will do dollar-based trading for clients across Africa. Barclays Africa is the worst performing lender on the 6-member FTSE JSE Africa Banks Index this year, having gained 12% compared with the average increase of 24%, with investors concerned about shares that still have to be sold on the market. The stock is trading at a 12-month dividend yield of 6.3%, the highest in the index. I think that's more than enough. The UK bank owns 50.1% of the South African lender. PIC, interested in boosting its 6.5% holding. The parent will want to get a sale done as soon as possible, following a 47% rally this year in pound terms in Barclays Africa's share price. Under present rules, no investor can buy more than 15% of a South African bank without permission from the central bank. The purchase of a controlling stake needs approval from the finance minister, who will work with the regulator. There is no process in law for a transaction of this nature. A regulatory deconsolidation is very complex. The Egyptian pound looks cheap at these levels, around 18. I'll put up a 3-month chart. Nigeria all shares down 11.87% this year. Ghana's president, Mahama, writes, "I am proud of the country Ghana is becoming." The election is due very soon. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 21.01% this year. By 2050, the world will need to feed 9 billion people. 2 billion more than we feed today. In order to meet this demand, global food production must increase by an estimated 70% in the next 30 years. Africa, which contains 65% of the world's unexploited arable land, has a key future role in delivering global food security. Yet less than a third of Africa's arable land is under cultivation, resulting in African food imports that total $35 billion a year. To meet future demand, this equation must be reversed. African farmers need a reliable supply of agricultural products that increase the efficiency of the land. Transport and storage infrastructure is also essential. However, Africa's fragile arable lands are at risk of further depletion in the next decade. The challenge is the lack of a secure and affordable supply of fertilizer that meets the needs of local soils and crops. Africa currently has the lowest fertilizer consumption rate in the world, representing only 2% of global consumption, despite holding 20% of the world's population by some estimates. Talking about water scarcity and saying that the value of the continent's production could move from $280 billion to $880 billion by 2030. Interesting. That's from the FT. Take a look. Kenya sends requests for proposals for sovereign bond and loan. The optimal moment was pre-Trump. Embraer agrees to pay more than $107 million to resolve Foreign Corrupt Practices Act charges. in connection with schemes involving the bribery of government officials in the Dominican Republic, Saudi Arabia, and Mozambique. Kenya Airways bought a number of Embraers. Kenya's inflation rate edged up to 6.68% year-on-year in November from 6.47%. Nairobi Oil shares down 6.24% year-to-date. Cash-strapped consolidated bank eyes 2.5 billion shilling injection. They're not going to get it. The current status, NSE 20 down 19.64% this year. The Nairobi Securities Exchange, of course, was everyone's eyes were on that substantial move we had in oil, but oil does overshoot in both directions very regularly. I think it'll prove a buy the rumor, sell the fact situation. Safaricom firm 0.251% close at 1990, well underpinned at this level. EABL eased back 0.4%, ARM eased back 3.84% to close at 25 on good volume. And I think that was all to do with the news coming out of Dangote Cement in Mtwara. Talk of shutdown there. Management came out and said no, it's a technical issue. Tanzanian government apparently is unhappy because they've been sourcing coal from South Africa and not Tanzania. And all of that, I think, sort of created a downdraft in ARM. Portland Cement was high tick 10%, but it's down 52.94% this year. BAT up 15% on the total return basis. Kenol Cobel up over 60% on the total return basis. Stock market's been soft this year, it's down, but the currency has been strong. So when you factor that in, it hasn't done that badly in comparison to some other ones one could mention. Interestingly, the Zimbabwean stock market has been rallying quite sharply, and the Venezuelan. That's a currency trade. Once again, thank you for stopping by.